workflow to build a corrective action plan and POA&M in Totem. I'm going to demonstrate here. It's relatively straightforward. I would like you all to suggest a deficient capability that you are particularly worried about in your environment. Audit and accountability. Auditing, probably a deficiency. We have, just to show you, let me go to the audit and accountability family. You might recall that on the first Friday when we had you upload the boilerplate SSP text that I said there's these tags in here, the underscore, I call them tags with the underscore in the front. Don't mess with them, just leave them for now. We're going to circle back to these. We have pre-tagged, what I call tagging, organizational actions that are associated with common deficiencies that we see over and over and over again from our clients. So we've tagged it to say, hey, this is probably going to be a corrective action for you. And the corrective action that you want to dump this organizational action into is auditing. All right. So I can use these tags to search globally. So if I get rid of this global search, the global drill down on the audit and accountability family, we're looking at all the controls. So I can search underscore auditing, and it's going to bring up those controls that are associated with the auditing capability within your organization, the SIM capability. And what I'm going to do is, let me set the stage and back up a little bit. You might recall that as part of our methodology, no, next one. First week's class, there we go. We said in parallel with doing a security assessment, we do as much customization of our SSP as we can, and then we build the POA&M afterwards. So you want to make sure that you've gone through at least the first cut of assessment and SSP build before you start doing this POA&M. All right, before you start planning corrective actions. So let's assume that we went through and did our assessment, and all these ones that are associated with auditing are non-compliant. All right, so just bear with me for a minute here while I go find all of these ones. Again, global search is showing me all the controls with a tag in the implementation details of underscore auditing. And I'm just going through and kind of skipping backwards in time saying, all right, we've assessed ourselves as non-compliant with all these folks. So I'm just sort of setting the stage here. Non-compliant. This one's non-compliant. Non-compliant, non-compliant. Non-compliant. And you can see we have several controls, maybe a dozen, or sorry, not controls, but actions that are associated with this, and in different families, right? We have identification and authentication family, we have the audit and accountability family. These are all related actions that are associated with a couple in the access control family here that are associated with the auditing capability. All right, so just to show you, if I clear this global search, it gives me back all of my controls, but if I search for the underscore auditing, I'm finding the ones that are tagged with auditing, if I can spell correct here. All right, so we're filtering down to these 9 controls. All right, so I've set the stage to demonstrate the workflow to build a corrective action plan. The workflow goes like this. In all of the ones, you filter, you global search for the controls that you want to include in a corrective action plan, the related deficiency controls. The organizational actions to those controls, you will add to a corrective action plan by checking this little box on the left-hand side. And what that does then is activate this previously inactive button called Add to POA&M. And you can see we have one organizational action locked and loaded. Now in future searches, I don't want this tag to show up in future searches. So I'm going to delete the tag every time I lock and load an organizational action. And I'm going to do this for all of these non-compliant auditing related actions. Check the box, delete the tag. Check the boxes. You can have multiple boxes checked, multiple organizational actions locked and loaded here. It'll take me a minute, so just bear with me as I do this. So I'm deleting all of the tags so they don't show up in future searches. Okay. Check the box. Check the box, delete the tag. I need to make t-shirts with this. Check the box, delete the tag. Check the boxes, delete the tag. Check the box, delete the tag. David, go ahead while I'm doing this.
So you go through the first time and sort of rate yourself and do any customizing or tailoring you can, and then you go back through on a second pass and do this. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so you do the assessment and the SSP building as a workflow. All right. And then I would suggest take a breather, a couple days, and then start tackling the POA&M building like I'm talking about now. And what I've done, or to set the stage for POA&M building, I'm saying a couple of days ago, I went through and did my non-compliance, my security assessment.
Okay, but I get, and you go through every single one though, correct? I mean, not just.
I would have gone through the entirety of the 110 controls.
Awesome.
Before I start doing even the building of the corrective action plan for auditing. Because the reason for that is you can see that there are related actions in different control families. So get to the end, take a breather, and then you can start taking a holistic approach to corrective action plan building. So I got 11 organizational actions locked and loaded. I'm purposefully leaving this one unchecked so I can show you if you do forget to include an organizational action in a corrective action plan, it's okay, you can add it in later. So 354A, somebody remember that, 354A, we're going to add in later. I'm also taking a note of the, yeah, there you go, Matt. I'm also taking a note of the highest score, because this is going to help me prioritize my corrective action plans. You can see there's a couple of controls in this associated deficiency that are worth 5, the most points that any control can be worth. So I'm just taking a note of that, mental note. Locked and loaded. We're ready to pull the trigger and build our corrective action plan. So we click that button, and it takes us to the POA&M page with a create corrective action interface here. All of our organizational actions, our associated deficient actions are listed here. Now, I forgot 354A, right? I say, oh, you know what? I think there was one in the information or the identification and authentication family. Let me go add that one in here, and you can just select that as a checkbox, and it'll populate. It'll add it here. I can also do this even further down the road if I forget after I've already built this corrective action plan, so I'm going to demonstrate that as well. Now you're in an interface to build a corrective action plan. You can see we have the features of a good corrective action plan waiting here for you, right? Deficiency description, responsible entity, corrective action steps, estimated completion date. We have that stuff for you, or we have fields for you to populate. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, what am I supposed to put there, right? I'm just beginning this compliance journey. I have no idea how to address these deficiencies. Well, in that thing you can download from this spreadsheet, you can download from our Neuro portal. Open that up, and you're looking at suggested boilerplate POA&M. So we have the tags that you can search here. We have a couple of dozen different tags already preloaded in our SSP template for common deficiencies that most of our clients experience in the beginning of this journey, including ourselves. All right. So it just so happens at the top of this list is auditing. So if I filter on auditing, let me just do that so we can clean this up a little bit. We have a boilerplate title for you, a boilerplate gap description, and boilerplate corrective actions, mini steps. So for now, you can copy and paste out of here and populate these fields. Okay. In the future, the next iteration of Totem, we're going to have this as this spreadsheet incorporated into the tool. And so on this create corrective action page, you'll be able to select which corrective action boilerplate you want to pre-populate here. For now, it's copy and paste, but we give you some stuff to copy and paste. All right, so title, engage, auditing. Priority. This is kind of arbitrary, but I treat priority 1 as the first corrective action plan in the sequence of corrective action plans that we're going to execute. Highest priority. And I associate P1 with controls that are worth 5 points. P2 with controls that are worth 3 points. P3 with controls that are worth 1 point. So we saw, remember I had you take mental note that there were some that were worth 5 in this locked and loaded action set. I would make this a high priority corrective action plan. Estimated completion date. This is going to be arbitrary. This is going to be highly dependent on your organization and the resources that you have, the resources of all types, human, money, time. Audit and accountability is one of the longer poles, maybe the longest pole in your cybersecurity program tent. So I would give yourself some runway. I'd suggest, highly suggest, do not put any of these completion dates further out than a year. If you get assessed by DIBCAC before CMMC comes, POA&M completion dates further out than a year, in my experience, is a red flag for assessors. I know a year date is pretty arbitrary anyway, but it's a red flag. They see it as your organization kicking the can down the road. So I wouldn't put anything out more than a year. Let's say you want to get a little bit more aggressive than that and you're going to go 6 months. Give your organization 6 months to get squared away. Then we can copy the gap description, paste that into the gap description field. So insufficient auditing capability exists, which prevents the organization from identifying anomalies occurring on system components that may indicate compromise of covered system or CUI. This lack of capability also prevents the organization from associating unlawful or unauthorized activity with specific individuals. There's a risk there. And then corrective actions. We have some boilerplate, get you started thinking about how to fix this deficiency, copy and paste corrective actions. Just giving myself some more real estate here. All right, so remember I said configuring time was going to be the first thing that you do in this deficient capability remediation? Configure time. Configure your components to generate events. In a Windows environment, we give you a link to Microsoft's suggested audit plan on Microsoft Windows systems. In a Kerberos environment, so this is a little bit nitty-gritty into the weeds here, but if you are in Kerberos, which is Microsoft Active Directory, you need to audit for the use of NTLM in that environment. This is directly from DIBCAC. One of our clients went through a DIBCAC assessment and they got dinged because they weren't auditing this. So we said, okay, fine. We will add it to our POA&M. Find a SIM tool that works for your organization. Your MSSP, if you decide to outsource, which many of you will have a SIM tool ready for you. Ensure that SIM is hardened. Limited access permissions, multi-factor authentication, integrity protection of the information. So like write once, read many. You can't overwrite, you can't delete. Roles and permissions for folks within your organization and outsourced organization. So who has access to the SIM tool? Configure the SIM to retain logs for at least 90 days. You see what we're talking about here? These are little mini steps. These mini steps also provide you with some additional interpretation of what the control is asking for, what these organizational actions are asking for. So you can use this spreadsheet to help interpret the organizational actions with these tags. It's an additional interpretation. Write once, read many. You will see it referred to as worm. Yeah, so that's what this acronym is here. Where are you? Right here. All right, so you have some corrective actions. This is boilerplate. It's meant to be customized as you see fit. It's just something to get you off the ground. And then last but not least, for qualities of a good corrective action plan, assign a responsible entity. You'll be able to assign anybody that's in your organization in the tool, or you can type in like IT MSP. I would want to get a little bit more specific than that. I would say IT MSP lead tech, something like that. Maybe name that person, however you want to do it. Just don't make the responsible entity Acme organization, right? You assign it to your organization, that's a no-brainer, that's duh. It's not going to get done if you don't assign a specific person or group to do it. Let's give this one to our IT MSP lead tech. You could also say, we're going to do it in conjunction, IT MSP lead tech plus the ISO, because then we're going to need to work together to determine what events to log. Click Create Corrective Action once you're satisfied with it, and it will populate the POA&M. So on this POA&M page, we now have a single corrective action. So our plan of action and milestones is starting to take shape. You can edit any of these fields that you just created, including the organizational actions. So recall that I forgot to put that one in from the identification and authentication family. It was, thanks to Matt, we know it was, oh, come on. I need more real estate here. I'm going to shrink me down. It was 354A, so I can add this in after the fact if I forgot, or if I go back through a second time through my SSP, building my corrective action plans, and I'm like, this one should really be part of an existing corrective action plan, I can add it. So it adds another one here. Let me get closer in. When you're finished, when you've completed the remediation, you click complete, change the status to complete, and it will turn all of these organizational actions from non-compliant to compliant.